Alright, I've done some discussion on meaning, about if things can mean other things. I've done discussion on that, referring to Quine's Two Dogmas of Empiricism, where he just says that there's no distinction between analytic and synthetic, and there's also no dogma of reductionism where objects can be reduced to physical experience and things like that. And he says that because there's no any of that, then there's no meaning. So I did a couple videos on that, so if you want more about that, then you can go there. But today on this one, I want to discuss the view on meaning by Edmund Husserl, as I'm getting into this bunch of phenomenology stuff because it's so interesting. I think it's cool, but I want to discuss his theory of meaning because it's one thing that's in the logical investigations that I think is really important. Because I'm more for the ideas of Husserl than his logical investigations. So that's what I want to do. I want to touch on a couple things in the logical investigations as to what constitutes a phenomenology and what his theory of the science and meaning are. So, going to that, he says that there's science everywhere. There's science. Just like he says that a brand on a slave, that the brand on someone is the sign of a slave. The flag is the sign of a nation. There's signs on everywhere. And then he basically says that there's indications and then there's expressions, and that indications, if something indicates another, one sign indicates another thing, that's too wide to be meaning, and that indication is not meaning, and then also reference is not meaning either, because just like Quine said, reference, just like a unmarried man or bachelor referring to unmarried man it's not meaning. And he says that meaning is a narrow version of indication in the science. So what it comes down to is expression through language, expression through writing, and things like that. That's what meaning is, and that expression is a narrow kind of indication. And it's kind of like one thing he said about thought. There's thought, and then it becomes language, and that the language is an expression of the thought that you had, and mostly that the meaning. Well, if you have the object and you have its meaning, the meaning is not going to be anything close to the object. The meaning will not be close. It won't be. The meaning will not refer to its object, for one thing. So, I think, okay. And then, but one thing, just like he says that meaning is not reference, it's not indication, but meaning is not anything. If you have the object and you put it into language or a sign of some sort, then it's not going to. The meaning of the meaning, and like meaning has names, for one thing. If you have an object, people are going to try to put it into language using names and things like that, and meaning of names and language. The meaning, like I said before, is not going to be. It's not going to be the object. The meaning and the object will not be close to each other, and they won't be correlated at all. But there's another thing that comes in here. There's the meaning intends the object that it expresses. Because one thing I've talked about before is that if you put things into language, or spoken word, or written word, the language is going to be different from the thought, or the physical object. They're going to be very different, because language distorts things, which is why we have so many problems with meaning, and why there's so many variances in what meaning is. So, but then he says that even though the meaning is going to be different from the object that it is supposed to express, the meaning is intentional in character, meaning that the meaning will intend the object that it tries to express. So we're gonna make, if we see an object that we haven't seen before, we're going to try to make names for it. We're going to try to, we're going to try to put it into language, right? That's how we communicate. So we're gonna put those into names and things like that, and we're gonna find that the meaning is going to be not very close to the actual object, and that we're going to have a meaning full of names. When we see it, when we hear or see the word, we're going to think of the actual object, but the meaning and the names that it has in it are not going to be. Well, the thing that we think about is not going to be close after we've had all these names, because the names are going to have problems, but still the meaning will intend the object, even if there will be some differences in between. So it's basically just like that, just because you can just see that if language, if you have a thought and you try to put it into words, the words are going to be different. They're going to be distorted, because you can't translate thought into language perfectly. Just like we can't translate objects that we see into language either. Very, very well, we can, but we can't do it very well, because it's going to suck. So the meaning is something that we're going to understand. We're going to understand what someone is talking about when we hear the meaning of the object, but the meaning that we figure out, or the expression that we figure out, is going to be very different, even though it still has that intentional character. So I wanted to touch on this because I want to go from this and leave out of the basic phenomenological ideas. I'm gonna still be discussing a lot of Husserl, just like I am now. But I want to touch on this first, because I want to go on to a guy named Jacques Derrida. He's a big philosopher of language, and I wanted to start discussing his book, Speech and Phenomena, because it discusses Husserl's theory of science here. This is the theory of science, because science will do a lot of things. Science will stand for something, they will indicate something, and they will more specifically express something. So there's a lot more discussion of all of this. So if you want more than just the base of what meaning is to Husserl, then go read the logical investigations. But this is just what I think. This is just the basic idea of meaning, and I wanted to touch on this so I can go discuss further Derrida and all these other things. But I didn't think, a lot of stuff in the logical investigations I don't think are that important as the stuff that are in the ideas. But anyway, I'll see you later.